This is your moderator, Glenn Miller. Everyone say hi to Glenn.
All
right, do a great job of introducing me now.
right, so in case you haven't noticed, it's Mark Hoppus from Blink-182.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to make this a little bit more interactive and kind of just try to do as many questions from you guys. And if you want to tweet in your questions, send it to Mark and at I am Glenn Miller, and we'll try to answer them that way as well. Looks like a lot of people are going to be recording this and taking pictures, so smile.
Take good pictures. Photoshop out the gray.
So let's just start with a question right away that we got in. So everyone's saying you've got 2.5 million people on Twitter. Mm-hmm. You've got over 1 million people on Google+, almost 800,000 people on Facebook, ton of people on Instagram, Foursquare, Tumblr, and now using backspaces. How do you manage it all?
I manage it all myself, and I spend a lot of time that I should be paying attention to my wife and my son at meals and at the house, just looking at my phone. And I think that actually all these different tools are a great way for bands and labels and people in the industry to communicate with other people. And to me, it's a way not only to let people know what's going on with our band and what our plans are, but also to make dick jokes and be silly and be myself.
Do you feel like it intrudes on your personal life? Do you wish you could shut it off?
No, actually what I love about all these different outlets is that it allows people to communicate on their own personal comfort level. It allows, however much you want to open up your world is how much you can open up your world. And some people don't. Tom in our band doesn't necessarily like people to know about his personal life and his kids and things like that. And Travis likes to bring people in, and so do I. So it's up to the individual artist how much they want to lend of themselves to people. And it's cool because before there was no way to have like, oh, here's a picture of whatever. Here's a picture of me on the beach at Cannes with my wife. Is it Cannes or Can? Can I get a Can? Is that official? Anyone? And have people have that kind of access, but also not have people have that much access. You know, it's a good tool.
What's been your favorite one to use lately?
Actually, it's Twitter by far for me. A lot of people have different outlets that they like to use, but for me, Twitter is the perfect medium. And I love Twitter because it's like a little haiku. It's like a puzzle. It's like how can I fit a funny story into 120 characters. I don't even do 140 because I'm a dick and I want to have enough room that people can retweet it without having it abbreviated or cut off. So I do 120 characters. And it's a real challenge to have, how do you complete a story arc, end up with a cool punchline and a funny story in 120 characters.
Interesting. So how are you, when you're finding backspaces or any of these new technologies, how are you discovering them?
I discover different technologies mostly from you. You actually, I know I discover a lot of my things through you or just from people that tweet me like, hey, check out this thing. Like this morning I discovered Vine. Is that a new thing?
Yep.
It's like 6-second videos. And you mentioned it last night and then I saw it online again this morning. And I like to try out different things and I like to try out the new upstart companies. Like I think I discovered Instagram the first month or two that it was actually even out at all. And then I discovered backspaces, and then there's just a lot of different creative people out there coming up with new things, and I like to try it all out. It's like a new instrument or a new, I don't know, new microphone or anything else. I want to see what it all does.
Let's go out and try to get a question from someone out there. Do we have a mic out there, or how we do this? There we go. Anybody want to ask a question?
Also, like Maury, yeah. We're going to find out if it's your baby.
Oh, or over there.
Thank you. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
I'm a really big fan. I just want to start with a little personal story. I remember when the live album came out, I dragged my mom to the record store to get the CD, and I was only like 12 or 13. And when we listened to it on the way home, she grounded me for a week and punished me, because of all the brutal, honesty, I'll say, and curse words in it. But it was one of my favorite albums, and she hid it in the car, and I discovered it like 4 years later. So I thought that was like really funny.
I'm sorry about getting you grounded.
No, it's okay, but I wanted to kind of build off that and ask, how has Blink stayed relevant, through the years. You guys took such a break, but came back, and we're almost as bigger than ever. So how do you stay relevant, from '92 to today?
I have no answer for your question at all. I don't know. We've always just done our own thing and kept our head down and tried to write music that we love and not try and guess what people want from us, and just try and make something that the three of us love, because at the end of the day, that's all that we can do. I can't guess what people are going to like on the radio. I can't guess what people are going to watch on MTV if they played a video, or on YouTube now. We just write stuff that we love, and I think that shows through, and luckily people have liked our band for a long time, and hopefully for a while more.
Do you feel like social media has added an extra layer of work onto being a musician?
I don't think it's work. It doesn't feel like work to me. It feels like a fun game.
You get to talk to all these guys.
What's that?
You get to talk to all these guys.
I get to talk to everyone. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, when we first started Blink, we had a P.O. box that we had where people could mail a letter to, and we'd say, send a self-addressed stamped envelope and we'll send you back stickers. And so I would go to the P.O. box once a week and get all the mail out and read through it and send stickers and reply to people if I could. And now, to be able to, right now, be able to communicate with over 2 million people in one little 10-second idea is just an amazing experience. It's something that all of us are the first generation to get to do this, and it just keeps building and getting more and more exciting with opportunities, and technology is moving so fast that, I don't know, it's a really exciting time to be in a band. It's a really scary time to be in a band too, because, the copyright and the questions about downloads and sharing and all this different stuff is, I think it's a difficult path to maneuver for bands and companies, and everyone's trying to figure out how it all works together. But to me, more than anything, it's exciting with possibilities.
Well, and speaking of music, how are you consuming most of your music lately? Are you still buying CDs? Are you streaming?
I don't stream or buy CDs. I pretty much buy everything on iTunes. And the thing that I hate about myself is that one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm sure for most people out here, is going to a CD store and walking in thinking that you're going to buy a NoFX CD, and they're playing something else on the stereo in the record store, and you're like, what is that? That's such an amazing song. And then you go in through the bins and you find old stuff that's collectible. Like, I would find a Cure 7-inch, that I had never seen before, and oh my God, it's a 7-inch, and bring it home and put the art up on my wall and things like that. And you don't get that experience anymore of going to the record store and talking with people at the record store, discovering things there. But at the same time, I can buy music at 2 a.m. in my underwear, and I like that.
And you like
I like consuming media in my underwear. Yeah, the convenience of it all is fantastic, and streaming is great, because then I can go onto Spotify and somebody can suggest a song to me, and you just drag songs to people. It's cool, but at the same time, you miss like recording mixtapes, like actual mixtapes with a dual cassette, and trying to
record off the
allow
radio.
for side breaks and time at the end of each side and things like that. You guys have it way too easy today. That's the problem. You don't appreciate it.
Let's go to another question. There we go. Turn it on.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mark. I'm a huge fan of everything you've done. I've got kind of a two-part question. One, is Plus 44 ever doing another album or anything like that?
I certainly hope so.
So it's in the it's a
yeah,
possibility.
we haven't put it dead yet. It's just something that for me right now, Blink-182 is my full-time priority, and I wouldn't want to split priorities between I write a song and does it go to Blink or does it go to this project over here? So if Blink ever took a time where we were like, okay, we're going to take a year off and do other things, then hopefully we would do Plus 44 again, because I love that experience.
Okay, cool. And I read somewhere that you're living in London now.
I do.
How does that work when you're working with the band, in a sense of rehearsals and things like that? Do you have to fly over? Have you got some strange Skype set up?
I have a lot of frequent flyer miles. A lot. We just recorded a 5-song EP, and to do that, I flew over to LA and went to the studio that I own with Travis, and Tom came up, and we presented ideas to one another and sat in the studio for a couple of weeks just throwing ideas off of one another. And I did all my recording. We all sat in the studio together and just did it like we used to do. So each other ideas and chop it up and say, well, what if we tried this instead of that? And I recorded all my parts, and then I went back to London, and Tom had recorded the parts we'd all agreed to, and it got mixed and sent around. And it's cool now because one of the good things about technology is like I can be in London and I can be approving mixes, you know, while the mixer is still in the studio in Miami. Whereas before, we would get a mix, and they would FedEx it the CDs back, and it would take 3 days, and then we'd make notes, and then they'd have to remix it again, and a lot of time got wasted that way.
Cool.
Cool. Let's get another one. Down on the front there. Little maze.
Hey, huge fan there too. We met in Glasgow. Remember?
Go up a little bit.
Sorry. We met in Glasgow. I'm a huge fan too, and I just have like 3 questions.
Okay.
First is, how far in the process of releasing the EP as a physical CD are you?
We have not. That's the thing. We have not released a physical copy of the EP. It's all digital, and I don't know. I think that we rushed to get the EP recorded and mixed and mastered in time for its release, and then it was the holidays, and everyone just kind of like forgot about the actual physical product. We're not good businessmen. We don't think like that.
I have 4 questions actually.
Okay.
Second is, how are you going to like get the touring together now that you don't have a record label anymore?
Well, the question is, how do we get ready for tour without a record label? And fortunately for us, we've never relied on a label for tour support. When we first started out being on an independent label, they couldn't afford tour support. We didn't want to ever go into debt simply to tour, so we've always toured within our means, which back in the day meant we were borrowing friends' vans and sleeping on people's floors. And I remember we would get paid from a gig that we just played, and we would figure out, okay, we have 300 miles to drive. We get this much miles per gallon on the van. If we each just eat 1 burrito from Taco Bell after the show, we can probably make it to the next gig. So we've always just toured on our own. We don't need a label to give us money to tour.
Because I was wondering that after that you announced the split with Interscope, I was like, oh, are they going to tour now that they don't have a label that take care of everything?
Yeah, we Blink-182 recently, we were on Interscope for many, many years. We were actually on Cargo Records, which got bought by MCA Records, which got folded into Geffen Records, which then got folded into Interscope. So from 1995 until this year, we've been on basically one label, and we just parted ways with them, and now we're independent. So yeah, the EP that we just released, we did on our own, which was a very exciting and fascinating thing for us to do as a band, because we decided one day we want to get an EP out in time for Christmas. We have these ideas for songs. We want to get these out. So we got on the phone. All right, we have time to do this. I got on a plane. 2 days later, we were in a studio. 3 days later, recording an EP that we got out a month and a half later, all on our own, with no label support, with no radio support, with no promotion or anything really at all. We did it all on our own. And it was a great experience because you see what you can do on your own, and you also learn through that process what a label brings to the table.
Yeah, but you got everyone at Kerrang that can like promote you or something.
Oh, Kerrang? Yeah. I'm sorry?
You know Zainlo and
yes.
everyone at Kerrang, so the promotion is still there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Throughout Blink-182's existence, we've always partnered and befriended people at radio stations and at magazines and things like that. So we literally got the mix for a song back one morning, and I called up Zane Lowe, who's a friend of mine who works at Radio 1. I called up my friend who runs K-Rock in Los Angeles, and my friends who work at Alt Nation in New York, and some friends in Australia. And literally that morning we got the mix. I was emailing it out to people, and it was on the radio across the world that night. And that was all without a label or without radio promotions or any kind of proper team behind it. But at the same time, we realized, for instance, we don't have a physical copy out because we're just too lazy to get around to having them printed and figuring out how to do that. It was easier for us to just put it up online, have it be available for download from our own site and through iTunes and places like that.
Do you think that you can like release it as a vinyl or something?
Yes, I'm actually having meetings about that while I'm here.
And third question, sorry about that. Sorry. Third question is, how do you get ready for Australia? Because you're going to tour like in a month or so. So
yes.
Are you going to meet the guys in LA, or are you going to go on your own and then just meet them there with all the gear and stuff?
She's asking, we have a tour of Australia that starts in about 3 weeks. And yes, to get ready for the tour, because I live in London, I will fly out to Los Angeles next week, week after, and rehearse with Tom and Travis in the studio there for 10 days. And from there, I will carry on to Australia, do the complete tour, and then fly back around. It'll be an around-the-world trip for me.
Let's go to the guy right behind you.
Yeah. Hi, hello.
Hi.
I would like to ask you, I don't know if you read a recent study that said that 70% of the followers of Lady Gaga, to say some kind of example, because she's the artist that used to have more followers in Twitter, were false or inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there is some kind of bubble inside of around the fame that it doesn't have that the followers that an artist have in Twitter doesn't represent exactly what the repercussion or the echo that they have? And the other question is that how can you turn those followers into something material, into something physical?
Two great questions. I think that a lot of the followers everywhere are probably inactive. I think that you probably have a core of people who actually follow a band or a person or an artist, things like that. There's probably people who also signed up, check it every now and then, and don't really pay any attention. How to actually turn it into something material is to give people good content. I think that for me personally, when I follow a band or I follow an artist or things like that, if it's just simply promotion, I tune it out. I don't even pay attention. If it's just, we're playing this show, we have this tour, we have this thing up for sale, it kind of bypasses me. Or maybe I'll look at it and go, okay, cool, I know that they have an album coming out. But for me to engage with someone and have social media affect me, it has to be good content. I want to have pictures of people, I want to have jokes, I want to have interesting stories. I want it to feel like it's not just an ad campaign. I want it to be an actual interaction of some kind.
Well, it's like you're great at being authentic on there, that when you go on there, it's almost like you're becoming your friend.
Oh, thanks. The funny thing is that people ask me from time to time, do you actually run your own Twitter? And I'm like, if I paid somebody to run my Twitter, would they say such stupid things?
Yeah.
Would I hire somebody to write that nonsense?
And then, so a lot of people are also asking via Twitter right now, you know, using all this to kind of promote yourself. There's obviously your family side. How do you use digital, whether it's Skype, iMessage? Like, what tools do you use to stay in contact with your family while you're touring on the road? Because people use different things for different reasons. Like, obviously, from being a public figure versus the private life, do you kind of separate how you use your social media in a way?
Yeah, I mostly do text with friends and family. Only my wife and pretty much only my wife is the only person I actually talk to on the phone on any regular basis. If my phone actually rings, it scares the shit out of me. I don't know what to do when my phone rings. I think that something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Nobody ever calls with good news. Nobody ever actually calls to say, hey, this awesome thing happened. It's usually like, you got a minute? Can I talk to you? Or that's the worst text you can get.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a minute? I need to talk to you. That's a bad one.
Bad one. Let's do another one.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. To bring it away from social just for a second, I mean, you've seen a lot of bands come and go in your time as a band. What are some of the traits? What are some of the traits that you see in young musicians that you're like, these guys are gonna make it, these guys are gonna have a long career?
I think the drive and want to do it for yourself. I think that I think that young bands, and you see a lot come up, and a lot of them have so much talent, but there's just no drive. They think that talent and great songs alone are going to carry you through, and sadly it doesn't. There are many, many bands with a lot of great talent that either aren't willing to put in the work or think that success is going to find them. And there may be other bands that I don't think are as great, but they work very, very hard, and they come up and they make things happen on their own, and they're promoting themselves and they believe in it, and usually those are the people who rise to the top. There's no magic bullet, there's no formula to success other than just work and believing in what you do. And really it's whatever you think is success, because, you know, sometimes success is not selling 1 million albums, but being able to live for 3 or 4 years touring and not having an actual job. And I think if you go in looking for success, it's a kind of, for me, it's a recipe for disaster. Like, you have to go in wanting to just make music and make something that you believe in, and hopefully success follows that way, in my opinion. Or form a boy band and then just get 5 good-looking dudes and it's all good.
So we've got a question here that We the Max is asking. So you did, on the last tour, you went to Google and did a live at Google Chat.
Yes, I
from
did.
YouTube. And it kind of spawned a lot of people joining and following you on Google+.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still use Google+? Do you enjoy using Google+? What do you think it would take for it, you know, to kind of start getting more mass appeal?
I love Google+. I love the platform. I love the interface. I like the level of discourse that the people who are involved in Google+ seem to have. It's just, the disappointment for me is that it felt like nobody ever really came on board.
Yeah.
It's like the nicest house for a party, but nobody showed up, and there's just like the DJ and the crudité laid out. Yeah, I think it's great, and I still use it from time to time, and pardon me, and I think it's a great platform. I just think that more people need to check it out.
And we see you do Hangouts a bunch.
Yeah, I do Google Hangouts from time to time, and it's a really interesting experience because you're like, oh, there's all these people there, and you start a Hangout, and people pop up, and it's like 10 people, and I'm like backstage at a concert somewhere, and it's just 10 people staring at me, and like, hey, what's going on? And it's just that for about 2 minutes. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I got to go and play a show now. See you guys later. Yeah, I think it needs a moderator. It needs you on there.
It needs to be on there.
Because nobody knows what to say. Everybody's like, you know, in this room, all of a sudden there's 10 people there. It's like getting thrown into a party with 10 people you don't know. It's like walking around here.
It's like they're all surprised to have access.
No, not that. It's just that nobody knows what to say.
So let's do, oh, you got one right there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I like your shirt.
Thanks very much.
That's awesome.
Everyone's looking at me now. Brilliant. So, quick double question. I actually think it's quite an exciting time to be an established act and to not have a traditional deal. So, first question: with new music, is the concentration of Blink-182 still the record, or is it the brand Blink-182 because it's a big established brand now? And secondly, when you are releasing new music, are you still trying to do traditional models, or are you looking at more experiential, fan-funded models?
It's a very, to pull the curtain way back. It's a very. We ask ourselves the same thing. What do we want to do? What do people care about? Do they still care about an entire album? Do they care about 3 or 4 songs at a time? Do they want a few songs every few months? Do they want a song a month? What do we want to do? Do we want to have a complete album? For me, I end up listening to songs, like, you know, putting my iPod on mix of certain mixes that I put together rather than saying, oh, I want to listen to The Wall, and listen to The Wall all the way through. So I think that's kind of how most people listen to music now. They kind of put their own thing together. They kind of cherry pick songs they like and they make their own mixes, or they just have it on random and things like that. And also, for Blink, we know that when people come to a show, they're excited to hear new songs, but they also want to hear, you know, What's My Age Again and All the Small Things and First Aid and the songs that we've been playing for 15 years now. So when we put a set together, we're very conscious of the fact that there's going to be people there, and we're very fortunate to have this at our shows. There's people there that have been listening from 20 years ago that know all the songs and want to hear those and new things. There's people that it's their first Blink show ever and they want to hear rock show. So we try and put together a complete show so that whoever comes is going to be able to listen to something that they enjoy and sing along with. Because the worst thing ever is when you go and see a band play and they're like, all right, we're going to play 4 new songs now. You're like, I don't want to hear that. I want to sing along to the shit that I've been listening to on the radio. At least for me, that's how I feel when I go to a show. So when it comes to recording, we're asking ourselves that exact same thing. I think that the EP for us was very exciting because it happened quickly. And it's kind of what I've always enjoyed and kind of envied about hip-hop, is that hip-hop artists can go into a studio with a beat and they can come up with something and they can make a mixtape and they drop it off at the radio station and it's out to the public 2 days later. With rock, it's always been, okay, let's get in a practice studio, we'll rehearse this thing, we'll go in a studio for 6 months to a year to record this album, and then we'll get it mixed, and then we have this whole launch thing where, you know, you need 3 months lead time for big press, and you need, you know, radio marketing and all these things, and it's exciting just get in a studio, record something, and have it out. And I think that now, with the tools that are available, a lot of rock bands are able to do that. So,
well, as you said, you've got access to 2 million people that you can directly talk to within 10 seconds.
Right.
So, I mean, in that sense in itself, you can ask people what they want and within 24 hours get a new track out, you know.
The challenge for that is, though, that bands now need to self-edit, I think. That it's so easy for bands to put music out that it's difficult to kind of sift through stuff that I don't like to find the things that I actually do like. I mean, technology has allowed amazing things for upstart bands to record in their own garage. I mean, we used to have to work and save for 6 months just to afford enough time in the studio to go in and record a 5-song demo. That was a huge expense for people. And now for a few $100, or not even for a few $100, you can get, you know, an M-Box or something like that for relatively cheap and record an entire album in your garage. But at the same time, there's so much noise out there that it becomes very difficult to sift through to find the good talent and the good music and the wealth that's actually there.
Cool. So one thing you brought up, what do you think about like all the musicians starting to do Kickstarter campaigns? I mean, there's 2 sides of the fence when you see any of those campaigns happen. It's either they end up being huge successes and no one knows who that artist is, or someone tries to go in there and, you know, they might be a known artist and the fans start to feel like, why are you asking us for money?
Yeah, for bands on Kickstarter projects, I haven't seen a successful Kickstarter project go through yet. There's bands that I like who have done Kickstarter projects and have kind of been like, you know, it's on you.
Yeah.
Like you have to, for me, it's like on the band. You have to provide something that makes me want to give you my money. I'm willing to buy singles, I'm willing to buy albums, I'm willing to pay money for your t-shirts and go to your shows and pay for that, but like you got to take that first step.
What would you want to see in one of those Kickstarter packages? Like, what would entice you?
I don't know. It's not it's cool for bands to do that and try and raise money that way, and I understand how difficult it is for people that have day jobs that also want, you know, the most difficult transition of being in a band is working or going to school and then committing yourself full-time to just doing music and being able to survive in some manner in that way. So I understand why people would go to a Kickstarter campaign. But for me, it's like, as a fan of music, I expect the artist to take that first step, whatever that is, and then you get your payoff. You don't get paid before. That's what a label would do. And then it's on a label, because a label is basically taking a giant risk on your band. There's been nothing that's really compelled me to contribute to that kind of campaign as a music fan.
Cool. Has anybody here? Oh.
And I'll tell you why, because, sorry to do that. And I'll tell you why, is because once you give somebody your money, you have no idea what they're going to do. You have no idea if they actually are committed enough to record an album and to put it through, or are you basically paying for some dude's apartment for another month while he just kind of, you know,
relaxes,
watches girls on HBO or whatever. I don't know.
Hello? Okay, there you go.
Hi.
Hi. So what's your opinion on artists' rights in the digital age now? You can get anything for free, pretty much.
It has been it's been the most difficult issue of our entire career, more so than, you know, any other aspect, is copyright law and how does that affect being in a band. And even whatever it is, 10 years on, there's still no clear answer. firmly believe that artists should be paid for their creativity. There's no other industry where people can just come in and take what you create for free and give it away for free, and people think that that's acceptable. And I understand there's all these statistics that the people that download albums are the people that buy the most albums, and the people that trade songs. I get all that, and I respect all that. So at the end of the day, it's a delicate balance between people getting access to your music, and we want people to hear our music. We want our songs on the radio. We want our songs in people's faces everywhere. And at the same time, it's so difficult now. We're lucky. We squeaked through the door and achieved amazing success, more than we ever thought possible. The bands that are coming up now are having such a hard time. I see it all the time because I produce records, I work with young bands, I talk to young bands. Bands that are on that cusp that I was just talking about, between living at home with their families, their parents, and being able to support themselves as a band, that whole revenue stream for them is gone. Bands don't make money recording music anymore. It's totally flip-flop. People used to tour and play shows and things to promote their albums. Now it's like the recorded music, the actual art of music, is a lost leader for t-shirts and concerts. You basically are giving your music away for free, hoping that people are going to buy your t-shirt or come to your concert. And it's a difficult thing for young bands. The actual work that people do, put their heart and soul into this project, and people just go, you know what, I'm gonna take that. I think that's cool. And especially for young bands, like I go to my friends' shows, and they're talking about how, yeah, I think that I can go another few months at this if this tour does well. And people love their music. People that download music love music. Music defines people. It defines moments in your life. But at the same time, passionate music-loving people go up to young bands and they say, I loved your show, I love your album, it's so great, will you sign my CD? And they hand over a burned copy of their CD. And it's a difficult thing for them as an artist to sit there and say, oh, great, that's so awesome, I'm glad you love my music, I'm glad you love my band. You also just stole $4 from me, So it's a hard balance, and it's something that I still haven't worked out in my head, and something that the music industry is still wrapping its head around. I mean, for 10 years, it's been, what do we do? How do we balance people finding out about new music and having easy access to music, and at the same time getting artists paid for what they do? Because if you don't pay artists, they're not going to be able to do anything. If you don't reward art, people are going to just not create it because they can't. They're going to have to go and work in a cubicle somewhere, and you have great artists that aren't able to support themselves, and that's a tragedy.
Well, how do you think social media, or digital for that matter, has helped or hurt the discovery of new music?
Oh, I think it's helped immensely. Immensely. I mean, there's no doubt that social media, the readily available access to music online, has created 1,000 more opportunities than it's destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to go on Spotify and drag a song into your friend's inbox that's great.
Yeah.
I've discovered specifically through Spotify, I've discovered, a bunch of new bands by people just saying, check this band out.
It's like everyone's a curator.
Everyone's a curator, yeah. And eventually, there's going to be good ones that come into your inbox.
Yeah. Let's do another question. Anybody got a question out there? Right here.
Hi. Just wanted to know what bands are you listening to right now, and also, how does it feel to play the same hits for 15 years? Does it feel like work, or is it still cool?
To answer your second question first, playing songs like Damn It, or What's My Age Again, that we've been playing for 15 years and more than that. No, I love playing them, because even though they were 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever, I remember why we wrote that song and what that song meant at that time, and how we felt. At the same time, I can't ever feel like anything on stage that I do is work when there's people smiling, singing the words back to me while I'm on stage. There's nothing better than that at all. No offense to my wife who's out there. But yeah, it never feels like work. And what was the first question?
What kind of bands are you listening to right now?
What bands? I'm listening to a band called Fantagram that are really cool. Stuff that's, I don't know, I think that's under the radar enough to make me seem cool, but poppy enough that it makes sense for me. A band actually that I found out about from a fan who posted it to my Spotify account is a band called Say Hi, that are really cool also.
Cool. So someone's asked us, how did you guys come up, or what was the concept behind doing all these scavenger hunts for bunnies?
We are about to tour Australia, and we have a series of collectible Blink-182 rabbits toys that have been painted by different artists, and we're kind of hiding them all throughout Australia. The idea actually came from our merchandiser, a guy named Chris Siglin, who's been working with our band for decades, and it was kind of his idea, and we just think that it's a cool thing to do. I think that it's a fun way to interact with people and have just fun, different, exciting things that people can do with your band and social media. So we drop clues, and people go and they find these collectible rabbits that are one of a kind that are done by really cool artists.
It's a way to connect real life to it all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, we've done things where, whatever, we have a show in town, and I'm walking down the street, and I say, whatever, I'm walking down Sunset Boulevard, first 10 people to find me get free tickets to the show. It's a cool thing. It's fun. It's also a little creepy when you meet some of the people that roll up to you on Sunset Boulevard and you're by yourself.
Well, since you check into Foursquare a bunch, how are you using that, knowing that, you know, the privacy of fans potentially coming up to you?
95% of when I check in on Foursquare is private, just for for me to get little badges. I don't know why I do that. I got a new badge. Fuck yeah. And then when I flew in last night, I was at the airport and I said, hey, I'm in Nice. I'm going to Cannes, you know, just to promote this event and let people know kind of what's going on. But for me, Foursquare is more like if I'm at a venue or if I'm at a place where people already know that I'm going to be, then I'll post it. I've accidentally done that before. I've posted where I was, thinking that it was just private.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, Saturday morning and no shower, just rolled out of bed, went to go get breakfast, and people roll up on us at breakfast. I'm sorry.
With everything
I look like this.
With everything that you're posting, do you ever have great concerns about privacy, or do you ever wonder, should I be posting this, or are you opening up too much?
Yeah, sometimes. I definitely, not so much privacy, because I'm always very cognizant of what I post online as far as how it would affect my family or our privacy or our safety or anything like that. I more question myself as to, am I going too far with this tweet? Like, is this over the line?
Are you going to offend me?
What's that?
Are you going to offend me?
Am I going to offend people? That's my one concern.
So everyone's talking on here too about apps. Do you play a lot of games? Do you download any band apps? Have you found any cool band apps?
I have not found a cool band app yet. There's been no band. Of course, I'm an old man. I'm not a kid anymore. There's probably band apps that are great that are out there that I just haven't discovered yet. There's been no band that I love so much right now that I would actually download one of their apps and play a game with them trying to, whatever, I don't know, get to the stage in Cleveland or something.
Do you play any casual games? Do you have any apps that you just absolutely love?
I kick ass at Gin Rummy. That's my new jam, the Gin Rummy app.
Let's go out and do another question, try to mix this up.
Hey, man.
Hi.
Just a quick question, curiosity. I know Travis has done collabs with like A-Track and in the past DJ Am, and I imagine you guys are all supportive, but what's your take on the emergence of, you know, this new dance culture, basically kind of from the 80s is re-emerging, and if you're into it?
I don't dance ever, ever. I hate dancing. I think dancing is stupid. I didn't dance at my own wedding. I didn't. But I love dance music. So there's the hypocrisy for you. I think it's great. I love 80s dance music. You know, I grew up in the 80s. I think it's cool. In the 90s, I went to raves and wore pants that were 10 times too big for me and thought that was cool, and striped T-shirts and all that. I think it's good. I think that, for me personally, one of the greatest things about music over the past, probably actually the past 10 years, when I grew up and was in high school, you listened to one kind of music, and that was the music that defined you. You were a punk rocker, or you were a heavy metaler, or you like country music, or you like rap music, and you did not cross those lines at all. Like, you know, when I was growing up, I was a punker, and I would never listen to Metallica because that was heavy metal. And it was dumb. And over the years, it's just all those different classifications and barriers have all broken down, and now music is just music. It's like, you know, kids today don't give a damn. They don't care. They'll have Carly Rae Jepsen, and they'll have Sepultura, and they'll have, you know, Blink, and they'll have Ice Cube. It's like every different kind of music is on everyone's iPod now, and even in bands. Like, we're not a punk rock band anymore. Blink started off, we're punk rock, and now we're a rock band. We have Yellow Wolf on one of our new songs, and we have, you know, all different kinds of artists involved, and we listen to all different kinds of music, and all that it does is make us better as musicians and makes the world better as people, because so much talent out there. Why would you limit yourself to just saying, all I'm going to listen to is a song goes, it's like, you know, there's a lot of great stuff out there. And I think that the internet now, technology now, really allows for that kind of crossover. There's dance songs with punk rock influences and punk rock songs with dance influences. It's great.
Cool. So one thing that everyone's noticed when bands are performing now and you look at the audience, it's no longer the lighters or the cameras. It's everyone holding up, surprisingly, iPads that are huge, and your iPhones and your Droids. You know, as a performer, how does that feel?
You didn't mention the
out?
Nokia Lumina.
The Nokia phones. How does that feel looking out now and seeing a wave of that versus everyone's faces?
I think it's cool. At first, you know, when people first started recording, you know, they would bring like video cameras and record and things like that. It was, I don't know, I was always like, stop recording, enjoy the moment. But at the same time, when I go to concerts, I like to take pictures of stuff. I like to, you know, post a picture. We went to Mumford & Sons last month, and it was cool to like post a picture. I'm at a concert. Of course, when I go online and I see people on Instagram posting, hey, I'm at this concert, I'm like, so shut up. I don't care. But I think it's cool. It's just part of the experience now. And at first, I kind of wanted to fight against it, but now it's just the way that things are.
Are you ever concerned about, you know, the quality of the footage getting out there? You know, a lot of artists don't want the live footage out on YouTube. And
you know what? This is actually reminded me of something. When people first started recording stuff, we fought against it, and we were like, you know, no camera. We had signs like no cameras, no recording devices, no things like this. And eventually, it's so pervasive that you can't really fight it. And Travis, our drummer, was actually very intelligent about it. He's like, dude, all we have to do is play great. All we have to do is worry about our show, and then, you know, we play a show with 10,000 people, all filming stuff. That's 10,000 people that are going out and marketing your band for you. They're going out there and they're posting videos of YouTube, and they're posting pictures of our band playing. All we have to do is put on a great show, and then all it is free advertisement for our band. And I thought that was such a great take on people filming your band. Like, of course, film us. We put on a kick-ass show. Yeah. We hope. You know, go out and tell people about it, which is what you want people walking away from the show. We work very hard to put on, you know, we choose the way that songs fade into one another, and, you know, we want fast songs at the beginning, and then we want it to come down a little bit and then bring it back up. We want the lights to do these things, and we want lasers, and we work really hard on our show. We want people to walk away from every single live show going, that was awesome. They were funny, the show looked great, the lights were cool, I sang along, my friends and I had a great time, and you want that energy going out using all these different things. So when I look out and there's people taking pictures and having a good time and singing along, all they're doing is going out and saying to their friends, look how awesome this band is. Every single person that's at a show taking a picture and posting it online, all that they're doing is being champions of your band. So, and it was really Travis saying that really opened my eyes to that whole thing.
Well, let's do another question. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
There's a big difference between creative people and business-minded managers. How do you keep the relationship between your creative entourage and your managers okay?
We have not. We are highly dysfunctional when it comes to management working with bands. After the Blink-182 broke apart, we went different ways, and each of us have a different manager. So we have 3 managers managing our band, which is next to impossible to have work. So what it really comes down to is the 3 of us. is for the three of us just to connect creatively and then send the managers with kind of their marching orders. This is what we want to do. You guys go and make it happen. And that's the best way that we can operate right now. It really, for us, it comes down to we don't need to be managed. What we need to do is, as a band, the three of us need to get together and figure out what we want to do, and then have other people make that happen for us and have them figure it out along the way. And if things don't work, if there's... We're actually three pretty smart individuals when it comes down to it, but we don't need to be managed other than if you do this, this will happen, and then, you know, whatever. If you do this at this time, you need to have a tour in place on the other side so that you're actually promoting something, that kind of stuff. But we just sit down and say, okay, we want to record an album and we want to tour. You guys go get all that stuff going, and we're going to go in the studio and do our thing.
Can you recall the biggest misunderstanding between your management team and yourself? If there was any, of course.
No, we're pretty chill. We're pretty cool with our management, and you know, we have our heads screwed on right, and it's mostly okay most of the time.
Do you ever feel like business has ever gotten in the way of creativity?
No, not for us. We've made choices on our own that have cost us money, a lot of money, because it's more important for us to be happy with what we create than getting paid. We're very fortunate that we're in the position to be able to do that. On the last album, the Neighborhoods record, we had figured out that we were going to record for a certain amount of time, and we were going to turn in the record, and then we were going to go to Europe and tour, and then we were going to go to the United States and tour. So we had everything lined up, and we came to the end of the recording of Neighborhoods, and we figured out that we didn't have a great record yet. We weren't ready to put the album out. We already had a tour in Europe lined up, and we already had a United States tour lined up right after that. So we didn't have time. So we were being told, actually this is probably the biggest misunderstanding that we had with our management. The label needed the record. We had tours lined up, and we weren't ready to turn it in yet. So we canceled our European tour, which was a huge expense for us. It was a gigantic public relations fiasco. People in Europe were angry. We bought tickets. We believed in your band. It was, you know, they thought that we were being disingenuous, but we didn't have a great record together. And we told people, we're not ready to release this album yet. We need to spend more time in the studio. So we chose, and everybody was telling us, just go to Europe, finish the record later, just go to Europe, tour the US, play the old hits, nobody will care, nobody wants your new stuff anyway, they just want, they want to hear First Date. And we were like, we don't want to be a legacy band only. We don't want to just be a greatest hits band that goes out and tours every couple of years and plays the same songs. We want to play the same stuff, but new stuff also, and still be vital and relevant and excited about our music. So we canceled the European tour in order to finish the record. It cost us a whole bunch of money, but we ended up with a much better record, and then we went back last summer and fulfilled that tour and had a great tour, and on the other side of it, 2 years later, everyone's like, oh, okay, we get it now. And the record was much better because of it. It ended up costing us a lot of money. And I wouldn't have changed our decision.
Cool. Let's do another question.
Hello. Hi. So there's a lot of discussions here at MIDEM about how bands can build partnerships with brands. But you guys are actually really successful in creating your own brand, Atticus, a few years ago. So could you kind of go into a little bit about how you did that as a band rather than approaching existing brands that are out there?
Clothing brands specifically?
Yeah.
We've all in different ways started our own clothing brands. Tom and I started a brand called Atticus, which we are not part of anymore. Tom has a clothing company called Macbeth. Travis has a clothing company called Famous, and I have one called Hi, My Name is Mark. And it's just been something that's been a creative outlet outside of being in a band. And we started doing our different things back in 1999, and there weren't really bands that were doing their own thing. There were bands that were working with Nike, there were bands that were working with, you know, surf brands and things like that, but we've always had kind of our own take and our own personality and our own style, so we just thought that we would do it ourselves, and luckily, knock wood, we've been fairly successful at it, and I think that we've come up with some really cool things. There's the brand influence on bands right now is something that you're going to see a lot more of in the coming years. With the fallout of labels, the lack of funds that they have to fund bands, bands are going to other places. They're going to Red Bull. They're going to, where else?
AT&T.
AT&T. They're going to, you know, we've had sponsors on our tours that have come on board. And there's going to be bands that are actually going to be sponsored. Their recordings and their albums are going to be sponsored and put out by Levi's or The Gap or whatever it is. There's going to be a lot more of that because bands now are having to turn to other places to fund themselves other than traditional labels. So I think that you're only going to see that increasing over the next few years.
Well, it used to be seen almost, you know, when bands are working with brands that it was almost like instant sellout. Mm-hmm. And then...
Oh, yeah. I lived through all that. When, you know, when we first started off, if you dared go on a major label, you were a sellout, you had no soul, and you can just go die.
It was like you played larger than a little baby club, like no one cared about you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived through a time when you actually, there were clubs, punk rock clubs, that you had to send your lyrics to for them to read to make sure that they approved with what you were talking about. We couldn't play some places because we made jokes about wieners. And so there were places that we couldn't play.
Well, then when you came back with Neighborhoods, you had the Honda Civic Tour sponsored.
Yes.
And then the Up All Night, the first video was AT&T, the fan one. Mm-hmm. Was that different for you to come back with new music and a big tour and have brands associated with it? Or how was that process?
We've always kind of taken place. That's always kind of happened with our bands. When we first started off, we were sponsored by Hurley and Billabong, and we would do tours that were sponsored by Hurley and Billabong. And we've always just chosen partners that we thought fit with what I mean, I use an AT&T phone. You know, I drove a Honda. I loved my Honda Civic. I drove around and skateboarded with all my friends for years with my Honda Civic. And I think it's not so much about the brand. Like, we just do our thing. We just partner with brands that we think are cool or that we actually engage with.
Yeah, great.
I don't feel like a sellout. Could be, I don't know.
We've got more questions. Do we have any more questions out? Let's go to the back, or whichever one.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering if there's any chance you guys are going to reissue any of the albums on vinyl or anything like that?
Yes, we are. We are, absolutely, yeah. We're actually, like I said before, I'm having meetings here with a friend about putting out vinyl. It's interesting how vinyl's coming back. I like that. It kind of goes back to the collectability thing that I was talking about earlier, that people, you know, and goes to your question as well, even with all the digital downloads, people love to hold something in their hand and actually have it. Like, that is a tactile part of the whole music experience, is having the thing. I was trying to write a joke the other day on Twitter about, but I didn't want to sound like a dick, about trying to sign someone's MP3. It's just, you can't. Like, people love the object. That's how music is. People want to buy a T-shirt that just says your band name on it. They'll pay $20 or, you know, whatever, because it's a T-shirt that says the name of your band and it identifies them. And I mean, I think all of us here coming to a music conference knows just the definition that music puts on people. How you live like, you hear a song and it takes you back 10 years ago to you sitting in your room, brokenhearted over something that happened. It's like that one song means just that. And people want to hold that. I think that that's what the vinyl does. I think that whole experience is integral. And even with all the digital technology, people want that thing. So yes, we're meeting to try and do that.
Awesome. Without having a label now, I mean, do you feel like there's any type of rejuvenation by being free? Because it seems like when everybody leaves the label, there's always that, like, I'm free kind of tone set to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I never felt... Luckily, we've always had fairly good relationships with all of our labels. They've let us kind of do what we wanted. We've never had anyone come in the studio and tell us to do this or not to do this. Really, we've largely been left to our own devices. And, you know, even after leaving Interscope, after being there for 20 years or so, I don't harbor any bad will towards labels. The label did incredible things for Blink-182 and got us to where we were. And it's because people at labels took this small band that nobody cared about and championed our band and believed in it and got it on radio stations and talked to magazines and did all the hard work that our band got to do what it did. And in addition to us writing songs that people liked and touring and doing all the hard work ourselves. But I don't know. I still don't think that labels are this negative, evil overlord, because it hasn't been that in my experience. They are, I think that the mistakes that bands and people make is thinking that a label is going to take your thing and make you a star. But it's not that. It's a partnership. A label comes in and says, okay, here's what we offer. We have people that can get your song on the radio. We have people that have relationships with magazines. And we have all these different tools that we want to give your band. Go, here's money. Here's money that we're giving you. Go record an album and come back. And they're the gambler in the whole thing. They're the ones that are taking the risk, and you're a partnership. So of course the label is going to want to try and make money off of your band, and of course they're going to expect that you give certain things back. In our experience, it's been a very good partnership. There's all kinds of horror stories out there that I'm sure that you can find everywhere. But I think that a mistake that people make is that a label is like a rich dad that's going to like put you through college and then send you out there. All right, go get him, fighter. It's not. They're a business partner with you, and we've always known that, and so we've always taken that into consideration.
Good. Let's go to the guy back there.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Mark, hello. I work in education. I teach college students. They're 16 to 19, and every year, without fail, they come to college and they want to play your songs. Even though they would have been 4 or 5, possibly,
right.
when
you don't think it's because our songs are so easy?
Well, look, don't take it the wrong way, but maybe it is. Actually, and you know, I've learned, because I have to teach so many students to learn these songs, I've actually come to, I really like those songs now. At the time I wasn't sure, but don't take that the wrong way either. But what did you learn to play to? What did you play bass along to when you were younger?
I learned bass by playing along to The Cure, to Bad Religion, The Descendants, Social Distortion, Jesus and Mary Chain, bands like that. Just sitting in my room, I had no formal training. I have awful technique. I play the bass entirely wrong, but I grew up just teaching myself, playing along, and I wouldn't have changed it. Because I played along with people, it's like I learned more about song structure and the way that the bass actually works in a song, because I was actually playing along to just a cassette rather than being taught how to actually put my fingers on the bass the right way and to hit certain notes and to do scales. I have no idea anything about scales, but I can write a kick-ass bass line for a guitar part. Like if Tom shows me a guitar part, I can write, and Travis has a drum part, I can write a really good bass part that seals those two things together. And I think that I learned that not by learning proper technique, but by playing along to other people's music.
Well, your songs will live on because people will pick up the guitar for years. It's like, you know, I learnt to play to Nirvana and things like that, and obviously things have moved on, but you know, your songs will
Nirvana's
live.
moved on?
No. But you're one of those bands that are carrying that torch, teaching people are learning how to play along to your songs.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's actually funny, and it's a great compliment, but it's also like one of those strange things where people will come up and they go, yeah, my son loves your band. I got him a guitar. He's 10 years old. I got him a guitar for his birthday, and he learned all your songs in the first 6 months.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. I know. It doesn't have to be hard to be good. That's what I say. It does have to be good, though, and that's the rub.
Cool. I think we could probably wrap it up.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming over here and spending so much time. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks for coming.
And have a great time at MIDEM and enjoy yourselves and keep doing rad music stuff. Keep making music, keep pushing music, and keep making it all happen, because it's you guys that actually are going to get all these artists and bands and labels and radio stations. It's all you guys that make it happen. So go have fun. Thanks.